Hello and welcome to a discussion which is very topical, top of mind, and something that everyone is looking at. I'm talking about the Hitachi Systems Micro Clinic Private Limited cybersecurity, our next generation identity technology and protection. The what, the how, the why of data protection and cybersecurity being discussed at the panel today. It's publicly known that India has nearly 560 million internet users, the second largest anywhere in the world. More and more people are now coming onto a digital platform and the digital bandwagon than ever before, making us a very, very crucial market. What then should we keep in mind when it comes to cybersecurity? How can it be done? What should be done? Being discussed today in detail by our four experts. Let me dive right in and introduce them. First up, we have Anuj Gupta, CEO of Hitachi Systems Micro Clinic, Dr. Sriram Birudavolu, CEO of DSCI CCOE, Mini Gupta, Partner Cybersecurity EY, Rishi Rajpal, VP Global Security Concentrix. Let's dive right into our panel then by getting each of your thoughts, opening comments really on the topic for today's discussion. First up, Anuj, could I come to you? And let's really talk about what is going on as we speak as far as data security is concerned.
It's the most interesting time that we've seen in data security. I think from the time the pandemic started, this whole work from home and the whole new normal started, information security has actually become the crux of this entire new normal. We never thought of that we would get out from the fortress of our offices and have these really fortified offices moving to an unsecured network at home and then really be secured, be sure about the digital identity of the person who's logging in, ensure the security is the same that we always enjoyed when we were in office, and on top of that, ensure the productivity doesn't drop. So there's been a
Sure.
very interesting time in the space of information security. I would say that it has actually been pretty destructive in the way traditional technologies have just gone by, and we've seen adoption of new technologies. We've seen customers, stroke, consumers really adopting information security technologies and ensuring that they're secure at any point in time. Interesting times. I'm sure once we get into the panel, we'll discuss a lot more about what's happening in this market right now.
Absolutely. And the kind of changes we're seeing, whether it's smartphones, whether it's data penetration, unprecedented times, and therefore so much we can discuss on data security. Dr. Sriram, if I could come to you next to get your opening comments.
Oh, yes. Yeah, we see that as the lifestyle of the individual, as well as the how organizations work and the economy and industry work, there is increasing digitalization, and with that, we are moving things online, and people have become more and more dependent on the digital transformation and on digitalization. So this just doesn't cover the tier one cities where people are, let's say, watching movies online and booking Uber and all that, but it percolates down to the rural and tier three cities also, where Jandhan, Aadhaar, E-Seva, all of these are used. And cybersecurity has become extremely important in that context. And that's the reason why we need to adopt new regulations, new technologies, new processes, and what you have in order to move this further and really become capable of a proper digital society. Yeah.
Okay. Rishi Rajpal, would you like to come in as well on this?
Yeah, it's a very broad topic actually, and cybersecurity has always
Yeah.
been important. But if you look at it, it has become exponentially important because the penetration of digital has become too high. Our kids are taking online classes, uh, and everybody's moved to a digital platform. We are not any longer going to the banks for KYCs. Everything is happening on the devices. So the risk for security has become an exponentially high, but it has always been a topic of concern, always actually.
All right, Mini.
My colleagues have talked about it, but I think an important aspect, like they mentioned, we've moved out of the fortress of our offices, moved into home, which probably were never ever thought of from a perspective of cybersecurity. So as we have, we've kind of covered probably the next 5 years growth in digital and B2C businesses in just one last year. With that, security technologies are something that have really taken prominence. And not just that, I would assume even the areas of people awareness around what security should be, what are the do's and don'ts, are extremely important now in the times that we live in.
All right, with that said, let me break this down. And first and foremost, maybe I could come to you, Anuj. If you can talk about what Hitachi Systems Micro Clinic is really doing in the area, just if you could set the context for our viewers.
Yes, so as I mentioned, it's been interesting times, and I think it's
Yeah.
been learning and trying times for all of us. As we moved into the new way of consumerization of IT, the consumption of technology, especially for
Yeah.
enterprise business, that's what we focus on. We really saw that the whole adoption of technology changed from what we were doing to what we are doing today. And as Rishi highlighted, digitalization has become the way of life. So what we've seen is
Hmm.
that we've really initiated a lot of work from home solutions for our customers. We've helped them securely connect onto their enterprise platforms. We've really helped organizations, get onto these journeys of passwordless authentication or get into biometric-based authentication, creating digital identities or digital personas of individuals so that the right individual is logging on to the right systems and consuming the right, data or the right enterprise solutions. It's been quite a learning. We
Hmm.
have seen in the last 9 months the kind of presence that information security has had in the boardroom. I have never seen that in 20 years of my life. And because
Okay.
we're part of so many CEO forums, and we're there in so many of these boardroom meetings where we go in as experts, and suddenly everyone is talking about information security. So CISO today, I think, has become a business driver, and CISO, I think, is part of the founding team, or it's the part of the board team to really take the right decision on technology. So not restricted to CIO. And I can understand the pain of CISOs because suddenly they are driving businesses and they're driving business outcomes, which probably till about a year and a half, they were not. They were that time driving only
Okay.
technology outcomes. Today, they're driving business outcomes.
Okay, let's talk about the opportunities then being presented by this entire focus really on cybersecurity and the protection of data and security. Really, when we're talking technology, a publicly available report stating that nearly 60,000 plus jobs are on offer, a jump of nearly 2% if I'm not mistaken. That being said, open to this expert panel, Dr. Shriram, if you could go first, please talk to us about the quality perhaps of skilled workers who are available for these jobs that are on offer. What more needs to be done both by government, both by private institutions when it comes to ensuring that we have a workforce which is ready for these future technology, which is ready for the kind of cyber threats perhaps that we're seeing increasingly.
Oh, yes, yes. So, first thing to remember is that this is a very non-linear growth because there is
Yeah.
proliferation of devices, proliferation of applications, and the lifestyle itself, in the sense that everything is moving digital and more it's going to happen with IoT coming into the picture. So, with that in mind, it is currently estimated to be a $250 billion market worldwide by 2023, and this is
Okay.
probably going to grow. And as a result of this, the demand is going to grow because who's going to build all these applications? Who's going to manage them? I'm talking about the global
Sure.
demand.
Yeah.
So currently, the unemployment rate is practically at 0%. Some say it is negative also, -4%. So we have to build a large talent pool if we have to capture a share of that pie of this market. Number one. So there are two angles to it. One is we need to build a very secure and resilient digital space in India. The
Hmm.
second thing is that this is a great opportunity for us to capture a share of that pie of the global market. So, with both these things in taking both these things into account, there is a need for skilling across the dozens of areas of cybersecurity because we need to understand that the current extent laws, frameworks, and everything were built to so far in the history of mankind have been built to
Sure.
protect physical assets and also uh, your lives, human lives, but not the virtual ones, which have a certainly different paradigms there. So we are tying up with different institutes, training professionals on how to enter into cybersecurity market. And AICTE has approved a complete BTech in cybersecurity. Plus, there are professional
Sure.
courses being given, and we are making headway because at least 1 million professionals will be required, very shortly, as we are increasing our digitalization. And with privacy laws
Okay.
come into picture, cybersecurity will gain even more importance. There will be people, the talent required across the space, not just technical, but in the legal management side and several other areas. Because security cuts across all verticals and all horizontal. Whether you take chip level security, network level,
Sure.
application level, up to social media and fake news detection, and also the legal side of things. So that's why millions of professionals were required, and I'm very happy to say that DSCI is playing a very strong role here in uplifting the
Sure.
cybersecurity ecosystem.
Sure. Okay. Uh, Before I can come to Mini and ask you to really comment also on the opportunities which are available, I do want to take our first poll question. This is for those of you watching: is India equipped to handle the complexities in the cyber security management space? This is a question for you. You need to respond yes or no. I want to repeat the question again: is India equipped to handle the complexities in cyber security management? All right, let me come to you, Minnie, and if you could respond as well, particularly, and I've been looking at some of your previous interviews. Dr. Sriram is talking about cornering really a share of the pie. He's talking about the opportunities, 1 million, etc. My question to you is, where is the potential? Where then is the shortfall? How can that be fixed? And you've spoken about the opportunities, particularly for highly skilled women who can enter the space really and meet that demand. Can you talk to us about that?
Sure, sure. I think this is an opportunity where corporates can tie back with the institutions, with the education institutions as well as government. It's really about all working in tandem. If we have
Yeah.
to have skilled workers that we're talking about in millions, we have to have experts in the field of cybersecurity participate. So that definitely is something that needs to work together. Secondly, of course, we need to ensure our reach goes out to all the nooks and corners of the country. We should not be limited probably just to the urban or semi-urban areas. But when we do these hackathons, we've realized that there is immense talent that exists even in the Class B, Class C cities. And if we give them the right opportunities, if we give them the right
Sure.
platform, we
Sure.
could be seeing wonderful skills, really good privacy,
Okay.
security, technical skills emerging from there. Not just that,
Okay.
we've also seen a lot of women showing interest in this area, but there is some bit of apprehension to say, is this too technical? Would we be able to do it? And
Hmm.
like one of my colleagues also mentioned, it's a wide variety when you talk about cybersecurity. It is not just technical. There is this whole gamut around data privacy. There is this whole gamut around cybersecurity, governance, the entire cybersecurity processes, compliance, and of course the whole area around how do we also develop additional cyber staff force. So it is a
Okay.
field where no matter what geographies you're from or which part of the country you're from, it does not really matter what age you belong to, because we've
Okay.
seen in cyber, you may be a very young kid, but highly professional, extremely thorough as compared to probably multi-year experienced individuals. At the same
Sure.
time, you may be starting later. You may be starting after you've reached a mid-range of age, but it's really the interest and the aptitude that counts. So age no bar, location no bar, gender no bar. All we need is the aptitude and bringing this entire ecosystem together of cyber
Okay.
professionals, cyber institutes, the government, and of course the students themselves.
Okay. This next
I,
question is open to the
I would
floor.
just
Please
yeah,
go
I would
ahead.
like to just add to what both of them have said. So one thing definitely that has come out very very strongly is reskilling yourself, right?
Hmm.
In the space of information security or cyber security, whatever you call it, what we have seen that what you knew about a year and a half back actually has no value today. So again, to Mini's point, age no bar. A 20-year-old kid could be as good as a 40-year-old, 20-year experienced security professional. What we are seeing today, and because of this whole remote working, we've actually hired talent from C and D cities because it's all remote, and they're delivering really, really well to our customers. Of course, at places, language becomes a little barrier, but in terms of capability, aptitude, it's just been phenomenal to see how town boys or girls have adopted to this whole information security
Sure.
drive. The other thing is that the whole reskilling part, I think DSCI or all of these organizations actually should spend a lot more time on how do you reskill the talent which is already there with people like us. How do we get them to get on to this whole new bandwagon of new security solutions, right? So that is where we are seeing a big challenge, and it's going to be a time where we will create jobs, we will create experts, and we'll create specialists, and we will see that this whole stream will become as big or as important as mainstream in any other domain.
So thank you, Anuj. I would just like to add a little point here that NASCOM has identified this problem and it has come out with the Future Skills Program, which people may or may not be aware of, but I mean, many are getting to know about it. So future skills, essentially that those set of skills which are future proof, meaning that it tied up with BCG and then identified these because India has grown through a services market, and now with this automation AI coming into picture, which are the skills that are going to survive the future and be solidly
Okay.
theirs. And many organizations are using that as a template to reskill their workforce. So I invite you to look at the future skills platform in which 10 skills are identified, of which cybersecurity is one of them. And Future Skills Prime platform has been launched this year. This is really good because it's funded, it is backed by MIT as well. And many of the students, professionals can just go online and learn a lot of things there. In say take courses in cybersecurity and certificates that really have value, and then improve their profession. Yeah.
Okay. I
So
think Anuj
you
has
have
a
the first
point.
student here. You have the
Yeah,
first
please go
student
ahead.
here. I would definitely that course because even I feel suddenly talking to these millennials or next gen, I feel like a dinosaur when they talk about technology, right?
All right, and that covers a lot of us as well, Anuj. You were mentioning, new security, and you said this bandwagon as things are changing in technology. Open to this panel, I would like for you to talk about things like AI, machine learning, cloud, etc., and how perhaps these future technologies can be used effectively when we are talking cybersecurity. Anuj, I want you perhaps to have the first go at this.
Sure. So cybersecurity is about people, process, technology. It's all the three
Mm,
pillars which form this whole domain. And as Mini also mentioned, it's not only technical in nature, it has a lot
mm,
of consulting, it has a lot of governance, it has a lot of best practices to be implemented. And what we are seeing today in with AI ML, especially on the endpoint security, it's a massacre out there with the whole ADR, MDR technologies. Everyone's talking about how machine learning or AI is actually helping you, really visualize the next threat and solve the problem today. On the entire process side, again, we are seeing a lot of these laws coming out by virtue of which we will see a lot of processes getting implemented around data privacy, around data
yeah.
security, and how that will have an impact on how organizations really uh, deploy or manage security. And a lot of it in security, especially because of this whole new technology, it's gone
Mm,
got out from the reactive mode to a proactive mode. So you are
okay.
talking about zero-day threat prevention. You're talking about really being up the curve or predicting the next threat or the next attack and stopping it. And of course, a lot of it is it's a chicken and egg story. Sometimes you fail, sometimes you succeed. But I think the proactiveness in the whole space of information security has just been phenomenal in the last 1 year.
Mm. Okay. Rishi, is there anything that you might want to add as well?
Yeah, so cloud adoption during pandemic has grown exponentially because we all know that logistic was a nightmare, buying servers and hosting in our data centers, right? So it has grown exponentially, and that was bound to increase. As far as AI and ML is concerned, I think the solutions, as Anuj covered, we are moving towards a proactive security, behavior based threats. The legacy stuff like signature based and stuff is already gone. So AI and ML in security will play a very, very vital role in terms of predicting a threat and mitigating it. We've already seen big companies getting hit with different ransomwares and malwares, right? So an endpoint has suddenly become a crown jewel because suddenly from bricks and mortars it is at a person's home, right? So you don't have your eyes on it as you would have on bricks and mortars, but you want the same assurance as people work from home. So you need to have the technology in place to provide that visibility on your endpoints and infrastructure. So I think that's a vital role in the coming days.
Okay, I want to break this up and talk about the role of companies and the role of organizations and the role of the government. First is the role of businesses, really. Anuj, you raised an important point where you're saying, proactive rather than reactive. So I want that and ask this panel to really comment on how businesses should approach data security, because there is the long term benefit versus the short term cost. A lot of businesses perhaps are thinking, I don't have the money to really have a robust data security or a cyber security process in place. What would you like to tell them? How should they be educating employees, particularly given, you know, data breaches could perhaps be unintentional? And we started this panel by talking about the entire move to work from home. Things are changing. So, what really is the role of businesses? Would you want to maybe take that on first, Mimi? And it's open to everyone on this panel.
Sure, sure. So if I were to suggest to businesses, and based on our experience of what we've seen, we've actually seen in the past 1 year specifically a spate in cyber attacks, right? And the kind of losses that organizations have faced, whether it's ransomware, whether it's penalty due to GDPR non-compliances, lawsuits, or whether it's business downtime because of which they're losing revenue, the financial losses have been immense in millions. And frankly, we've always had the client come back saying, if we had just, if we could predict, we would ideally have incurred more costs in security rather than now incurring this cost in trying to recover and respond. So, specifically to businesses, we wouldn't want you to over engineer. Identify what are my crown jewels, identify what are my high risk areas. Uh, you cannot probably protect everything 100%. Security is a myth, right? But what is required is, do you have strong detection capabilities? And we've talked about leading technologies now being available with AI ML based detection. You can actually predict if there is a threat happening. We've actually identified potential ransomwares even before they happened, and it's only because of strong detection capabilities. So if you have to invest, start probably with, yes, basic protection capabilities, but then a strong detection capability. And of course, as cost allows, you can go further. The other area that businesses should invest in, and if you look at most of the breaches that have happened, are probably because of negligence or human error, or probably a partner that is serving me who had access to my systems who did not have the same level of security that we had, right? So that level of assessment of who all could be a risk to bringing in a security breach or causing some kind of a security attack is something that organizations need to assess. So if it's your
Okay.
own people, you need to ensure that they know what is important. They can also exercise diligence. While technology products will be there, but how are they also exercising diligence? We've had like over 2,000 COVID related and phishing sites come up, and employees just go around clicking left, right, and center. So how do you create that level of awareness as well? How do you assess the risk at your third parties? So we need to invest in what's important, and we need to
Mhm.
invest in strong detection capability and people aspects for sure.
Yeah, and I would like to
Sure.
add, right? We are talking about different compliances. I would say don't do security for compliance. Implement effective security, and compliance will be a byproduct of effective security. Because if you're still driving security to compliance, you may not do a good job of it, right? And compliance helps you sell security because those are the obligations that an organization needs to meet. But don't do security for compliance. Build a effective security program, and compliance will come automatically.
Okay.
Just to add to this also is, it's all about, the cost of risk and cost of mitigating the risk, right? So as
Sure.
Minnie rightly highlighted, what are your crown jewels? If some business says I don't have money for information security, I think they should not be in business because they won't be in business for too long, right? So it's very, very important you identify what are your key costs and how much do you want to spend to mitigate the risks that are there. And the second aspect of this is an example I've given a couple of times that, as we talk about proactive security, we talk about AI, ML. In a human mind, if you take the analogy of a heart attack, it's that first 60 minutes where they call the golden hour. If you get treated at that point in time, you survive. A lot about information security also is about really knowing when the attack is happening at your organization. And the moment you know there's an attack, how fast you react to it and you stop the threat, right? So it's all about what kind of investments that you make so that at any point in time, when you are in danger, there is a red flag that comes up and says that, you know what, you have been attacked. And if someone
Okay.
says you're not going to be attacked, then it's a myth, right? So information security, the
So,
war is lost. We're trying to win the small battles.
Sure.
okay. So I'd like to comment here that the insurance company Alliance, okay, it has a risk barometer. And now in 2013, cyber attacks were on the 13th place. And for
Mm-hmm.
2021, guess where it is? It occupies the number one place. Cyber attacks are considered the number one risk. It is followed by then all the other attacks, include all the other things like natural disasters, terror attacks, and all of those kind of things. So when something is at the number one position of risk, should give it the adequate respect and do the required investments in order to mitigate that risk and also have the contingency plans in place. So Anuj had commented on people, process, and technology. To that, I would add a fourth pillar, fourth leg, which is
Okay.
intelligence. Okay.
Okay.
That means supposing you have a firewall, it's no good. You can't simply buy a new firewall every year. You need to have a constant feed of intelligence as things become smart and more intelligent because it's
Sure.
constantly upgrading itself. So in the context of COVID, say you have it's disrupted of course the industries and lifestyles and everything. So you have this thing called workplace and workforce. Three aspects have been impacted. So all of these things now, the boundaries of the organization are no longer there. Even sensitive operations people are doing from home. Earlier they used to be in a privileged area of a data center. Now all that has moved to home. So the boundaries are no longer there. So now that brings up new paradigms. And of course,
Okay.
the industry frameworks are there like zero trust architecture and all, and legal compliances. All of these are there. Technology compliances, legal regulations, the industry standards, the process and automation AI, which others have commented on. I will not again comment on that.
Sure.
These are extremely important, and for us to consider what the cyber of your cyber posture should be, and that's how one should
Sure.
take it ahead. It differs from organization to organization, domain to domain, small size, big size, mid sized, and the domain in which one is in. So one is into banking, one is heavily into manufacturing. It will of course differ. So one needs to assess very thoroughly and take the advice of
Sure.
experts.
Okay. I just very briefly also want to take in our poll question. We're running out of time in today's panel. There's so much to be discussed, but we're running out of time. Our second poll question, I want to read it out for you. Do foreign investors really have trust in India that its data and digital assets will be safeguarded? Do respond yes or no. The question: do foreign investors have trust in India that its digital and data assets will be safeguarded? All right, I do want to also talk about the role of the government when we're talking data security. We have massive programs like Aadhaar. what really is the role of the government? Are you satisfied perhaps with all the commentary we've heard from the government? We're still in the process, of course, of having our own data security and protection bill really being passed. But in the backdrop of everything that's happening globally, GDPR, given that so many people are now coming onto the digital, bandwagon, we're looking at increased number of businesses coming onto digital platforms. What should the government do? Are you happy? Would you like to see more? And what is that more? Open to the four of you. Anuj, if you could maybe you want to take that on first.
You actually mentioned a very good point, Aadhaar. I think globally, Aadhaar, which is one of its kind where it has a biometric based authentication, right? And I think we've done a great job with that. And what we are seeing, and actually the last 1 year we've done as Hitachi, we've done a lot of work on the digital identity. How do you create a digital identity of an individual? How do you secure the digital identity? How do you authenticate that identity using biometric interfaces, whether it's a live ID, it's a facial recognition or thumbprint, and along with that, integrate that to an authentication which is passwordless. So that's a play area where we've done a lot of work, right? And actually creating digital identities for every person that connects into an enterprise or a government, or any of the government's websites. So this is where we've been doing a lot of work. And I think in India, with this new health card initiative, with the other various technology initiatives that we are doing, we will see digitalization in a big way. We will have, all of us as Indians will have a very, very strong digital identity or a digital persona. Now it's to all of us as industry leaders to how do we secure that?
Okay. Anyone else on the panel have a view on that?
Yes. So actually, the government, I mean, has taken a lead, I should say, in the world, because if you see now, I mean, it is talking about the privacy bill and all that. Now, many countries, including US, they are trying to launch these bills in various states and different countries. Some 50 countries at least are poised to launch their own privacy laws and all that. So, of course, GDPR was among the first. And given this, that India has taken a lead in several areas. Anuj had already mentioned Aadhaar. Now you take NPCI's Beam transaction, the platform which is there, that is registering billions of transactions at unheard of volumes of transactions also, which is there unheard of in the world actually. So
Sure.
it's been a great success story. So we have several such success stories, and we'll get many more success stories due to the sheer volume and the pace of digitalization that is happening. We just need to keep at it and introduce more best practices and our own regulations, which I feel Prime Minister Modi has also mentioned in his 15th August speech that new cyber laws are going to come. So these are very welcome signs. For our population, we have done extremely well, and I'm hoping that we will do more ahead. And if you take the
Sure.
past, if the past few years are any indication, you have many laws coming out, whether it is drones, whether it is Insolvency and Bankruptcy Act, or whether it is NDCP, National Digital Communications Policy, or this privacy policy which is coming out. So these are all steps in the right direction. In fact, they should encourage more startups to bring out more innovative solutions. Yeah.
Okay. Speaking of the role of the government, I do have to take our third poll question for those of you watching. It's coming up on your screens. Did Budget 2021 lay enough emphasis, enough focus on cyber security in India? Do respond yes or no and repeat the question. Did Budget 2021 lay enough focus on cyber security? With that, let me, this question is open to anyone on this panel, but talk about the convergence really of OT and IT. We were just talking about machine learning, the future technologies really. What really is happening when we're talking convergence of OT and what is happening as far as security also is concerned? Dr. Sriram, if I could maybe come to you on that first.
Yes, so this is an extremely important topic, OT and IT,
Okay,
because our automation depends on that. Okay, otherwise you would have only automation in the software side, and it will not translate to the physical world as cyber physical systems are growing now. So you would see that in the traditional world, you had many things like video cameras and all these things. But even once they are connected to the internet, then the risks go up. And the problem there
sure,
is that these underlying ones cannot even be upgraded so easily because they work on VxWorks or some other embedded systems platforms and all. So they have their own set of challenges. One of the biggest challenges is that there is plethora of devices and operating systems and everything in the OT world. And on the internet side, IT world, earlier they used to do air gapping and such things to separate the two out so that they don't interact with each other. But now
Okay.
the times come that both of them should work in an integrated manner, because you have operations research, you have the whole thing automation working in a seamless fashion. So there are platforms coming up. In fact, we are conducting one major research project on IoT security, in which the best practices and all are coming up. So I would urge
Okay.
that different standards also are addressing this, whether it is an NIST standard, NISA standard, ISO, IEC standard, or 1M, 2M architectures. And with 5G coming into picture, this is going to become all the more important. We don't have all the answers now, but we're working it through, because step by step, as the digitalization increases and all these are devices are brought under the purview of the overall digital integrated footprint, unified footprint of any organization, then it becomes very important that you integrate IT and OT. Okay, it's a vast
Okay.
subject, so I'll only comment on it that this needs to be taken very seriously. Please do follow the standards, and please do get in touch with us if you need any more help. We are conducting, as I mentioned, a research project, and we should be bringing out some best practices and also use cases as well as you case studies properly, which should help
Sure.
people.
Sure. Anuj?
Thank you. Yeah.
I think Dr. Sridham has covered most of the points. We are a connected world, and today, OT technologies are as connected as IT technologies. And with this whole 5G, digitalization, IoT, we are seeing so much integration of operational technology and the underlying IT platform that if we don't start creating security systems for OT, we'll be far more vulnerable there, because at the IT side, we've made all the investments, but our weaker link is OT, and that actually disrupts business because it can get you to a
Sure.
grinding halt. And we are
Sure.
seeing, as system integrators, we are seeing convergence. We are seeing organizations actually seriously thinking about what are the investments they need to do on OT security. And it's going to be interesting time. And I think DSCI is doing some great work on that. And we are all trying to collaborate. We are all learning. So we are all collaborating together to see what we should give to our customers.
Yes,
All right.
because one key thing I would mention as a closing comment is that people probably don't realize the seriousness of this NCIPC, which is critical infrastructure protection corporation, see, which is there from government, and the thing is, remotely from another country, people can knock off grids, cause disasters, and all sorts of activities, terrorist and otherwise, like military attacks and all that, which can happen. For example, if there are, you take over a area, and then where there is carbon monoxide, you would say that there is no carbon monoxide, or you bring things to a
Sure.
grinding halt. If you're hacked into metros, you can cause large scale disasters and knock off entire electric grids, dams. All these are under vulnerable now. So that's the reason why it's very important to take it seriously.
So if I may add, like both my colleagues mentioned, OT security also needs niche skills. So as we're developing skills and as we're developing education programs, we should also focus on OT security, IoT security related courses, and like you mentioned, there is a lot of work that DSCI is doing, and we've also been doing a lot of research in the space. So it's really about bringing all this know-how together as we work back with manufacturing companies or automotive or power plants or rail networks or even telecom organizations. Every technology, when it comes to operational technology, is very different. So how do we garner skills for that? What is the education frame that we build for that? How do the minds all come together and collaborate is another important point that we need to focus on.
Yeah. So one major
Okay.
challenge I would just like to highlight before close is that there are these load of legacy systems which are there. Okay, that you cannot simply discard them. There are SCADA devices and a whole lot what you have, machinery and all. So you can't upgrade them also easily, but they still need to be brought under the purview of managed devices. So that is the one of the biggest challenges which we have. If you have to bring all these loads of device, I mean, all these devices into which billions of dollars have been sunk. into, and they will continue for some time. How do you bring them into the purview and yet safeguard them? That is the number one challenge.
Sure.
So my closing on a lighter note would be that we are in two different boats, but in the same storm, right? It's just the impacts are different. That's about it.
With that, let me take closing comments from our four panelists joining us today. Um, Anuj, if you want to leave someone watching this with really a vision as far as what you think is perhaps going to be the biggest changes coming in when we're talking data security, cyber security, protection of data, what would it be?
Actually, I think the journey has just started, and honestly, the vision has been changing every year. And what we've seen last year, the whole fast track of adoption of technology, and then of course on top of that, the layer of information security. Just to give you some reference points on this, if you really look at Gartner, IDC, any of Forrester's, any of these reports, at the beginning of
Yeah.
2020, the top 10 security priorities that they laid out, and you look
Okay.
at 2021 top 10, probably eight of them are new priorities. And as we go forward, I think it's just going to change. So my point would be to everyone who's watching, information security is a very, very key subject. Please make it a boardroom discussion. Don't shy away from investing in it. It's as important as any other pillar of your organization. Be serious about it. Yes, in India, we are always under pressure, and people like to quote us for the wrong reasons. But I think as Indian organizations, Indian enterprises, and Indian government, we've done fairly well on the information security posture. We should just be at it and be watchful. Someone is always watching you. Just be watchful. And if I don't know what's the age group that is following here, but from the to the millennials or the next gen, please be very, very careful on what you post online. Believe me, you are being observed, you are being watched. So please be very careful. That's it from me.
Rishi?
Yep. So cybersecurity is a key subject. I think never lose sight of it. The foundations and basic principles will remain the same. So keep focusing on the basics and keep the foundation strong. We will have change in priorities during the years as we saw in pandemic, but if your foundation is strong, you will always see the other side of the tunnel. And I think one of the takeaway is that we should collaborate, right? So bad guys collaborate really well. It's just a collaboration within us. If we do it well, we can fight this battle really well.
Sure. Mini?
Right. So obviously we all know how important a subject cybersecurity is. Uh, this is a time for automation. This is a time to adopt automation in the field of cybersecurity, and ideally, what we need is a strong framework. It really doesn't matter what regulation is coming out, what compliance requirement is coming out. If we have a strong framework in place, something which is like a unified framework which takes into account leading practices, no matter what the regulation is, you will be ready. So do not wait for a regulation to come out, but be ready with a strong framework. Adopt the technologies, and there are some really cutting edge technologies available at really good cost points, also price points as well. So adopt those technologies, invest in those, so that the cyber minds can then focus on more research and more important agendas to look at. And
Sure.
lastly but not least, like I said, do not lose sight of your people, and do not lose sight of the external parties that you engage with as well, because you may do everything that you have, but if there is any weak link in the entire ecosystem, they could render you vulnerable. So have a sight on those as well.
Okay. Dr. Sriram, I'd like to give you the last one.
Yes, yes. So actually, in 2018, when Prime Minister Modi visited the different world leaders and asked them that what are the top three things that keep you awake at night, one of them invariably turned out to be cybersecurity. Okay, so then he came back and asked NASCOM that what are you people doing about it? That is when they brought out the CSTF report, Cybersecurity Task Force report, that is being implemented in various ways. For example, our COE itself is an example. We also run use case clearinghouse workshops. So, which is manifesting now in different ways. It is, as I mentioned, it is the number one risk in the world. So the
Yeah.
thing is, focus on the basics, uh, and of course, collaboration is very important, like the others said. Then security by design and privacy by design are important. It cannot be retrofitted back into the system. That has to be fundamentally inbuilt into the system. If you take even the natural systems also, like our biology, you will find that there are white blood corpuscles inside, which are warriors who are saving you, right? So it is inbuilt into even in the natural systems. That's why we should take it very, very seriously. Urge everyone to do so. Thank you.
All right.
That's
Thank
OT
you
and
to the
IT
four
for
of you so
you.
much for taking the time to join us today. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank
Thank you.
you.